Clever Quickie. This wasn't a Supreme Court case, but if you ever wanted a case that specifically laid out fundamental, unsolvable problems with intellectual property, this is the case. And if you ever wanted a judge to do so, Learned Hand is the one. And Nichols sued Universal Pictures for their movie The Coens and Kellys because of very strong resemblances to her play Abie's Irish Rose. In the play, a young Jewish man marries an Irish Catholic girl against the wishes of both their families, and hilarity ensues. In the movie, it's an Irish boy marrying a Jewish girl of feuding families, and hilarity ensuing. Of course, the basic story goes back to Romeo and Juliet, and even further than that, to Pyramus and Thisbe. The story may be as old as humanity itself. So is it just the fact that you have a Jew marrying an Irish Catholic? How similar do they have to be an infringement? And how different do they have to be not to? Nothing was literally copied over from the play to the film, so can concepts, settings, and, in the plaintiff's words, an abstract of the whole be infringing? To make things even more complicated, the movie was actually based on Aaron Hoffman's play 2 Blocks Away, expertly explaining why mere ideas and concepts cannot be copyrighted, hand-ruled. There is a point in this series of abstractions where they are no longer protected, since otherwise the playwright could prevent the use of his ideas, to which, apart from their expression, his property is never extended. But the question is, at what actual precise point do the differences accumulate to where, in modern legalese, it becomes transformative rather than derivative? Where is that line drawn? Hand said it straight out. Nobody has ever been able to fix that boundary, and nobody ever can. By the way, if you haven't figured it out, he ruled for the defendant. This wasn't the only time he commented on copyright. In Shipman v. RKO Radio Pictures, he concurred, "There is a point where the similarities are so little concrete, and therefore so abstract, that they become only theme, idea, or skeleton of the plot, and that these are always in the public domain. No copyright can protect them. The test is necessarily vague, and nothing more definite can be said about it." He reiterated the point in Peter Pan Fabrics v. Martin Wiener. The test for infringement of a copyright is of necessity vague. In the case of verbal works, it is settled that although the proprietor's monopoly extends beyond an exact reproduction of the words, there can be no copyright in the ideas disclosed, but only in their expression. Obviously, no principle can be stated as to when an imitator has gone beyond copying the idea and has borrowed its expression. Decisions must therefore inevitably be ad hoc. It would have been nice if he'd taken it all to its logical conclusion that the whole idea of intellectual property is contradictory on its face. But it's refreshing for a judge to come right out and acknowledge its vagueness and the arbitrariness of its enforcement. Unlike today, where they've all gone so crazy they're talking about infringing a copyright of someone's style. Makes you really want to know what Learned Hand would say about what copyright has become today.